Okay, started recording. Yeah, it started the recording. So now we saw there are two types, checked and unchecked with examples we saw, and move on to next topic, which is some syntax. The next topic is hierarchy of exceptions. We have throwable, exception, error. This I showed you yesterday. Exception, we have multiple subclasses. The first of subclass is IO exception, input output. Like when you're trying to read any input file data, like text, whatever we saw sample text, it will throw this kind of like if that file not found, then it will throw the IO exception. So the SQL exception, when you're trying to access any database, and if the database connection has any issues, or if the database is not available in the database server, it will throw the SQL exception. And a class not found exception, when you're trying to access any class or file, if that is not found, this kind of exception will throw. These three are categorized as checked exceptions or compile time exceptions. So if any possibility of these three exceptions occur in your code, then this the programmer will not compile, you cannot proceed it, you have to handle them. So runtime exceptions or unchecked exceptions are uh, occurred or happens at runtime. So the compile time compiler will not basically will not know whether there's a possibility of arithmetic exception is occur, a possibility of null pointer, number format, index of bounds, array index of bounds, string index of bounds can occur. Okay, so this is the reason these are categorized as runtime or unchecked exception. And then errors. Errors are like three types: stack overflow error, virtual machine error, and then out of memory. Out of memory, this stack overflow is related to the stack memory, heap and stack memory, related to stack memory only. And then virtual machine is like if the virtual machine, the remote machine which is not available, that time this kind of this error virtual machine error will throw. So these are categorized category. These are subtypes of error, and error, as I told, right? Errors cannot recover. We cannot recover. Whatever happens, these errors can happen. Then what happens? Like when any these error occur, the system will terminate. Yesterday, someone the Salem asked the question. So I think someone like Salem asked the question like, what happens in real time if any out of memory error occurs? I showed with examples, right? So in real time, any Bank of America, if we take, there would be real time monitors would be there.
Jonathan,
Salem, you talking to me or someone?
sorry.
Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, so yesterday, right, I explained like Bank of America, suppose real time monitors would be there. We can check, like, suppose if Bank of America per day, if they access, like they get some 1 million of users, like access 1 million of users, so try to access this account. So then the CPU, basically, can handle, let's say, their system can handle up to up to one, I mean 200 terabytes if the system handle. So now we can put some alarms in the monitoring system. If any point of time Bank America system reach some 80% of threshold, that means, in case of 200 terabytes, 80% means, like if it reaches 160 at any time, then it will trigger the alarm to some maintenance guys or admin guys, so that saying that okay, there is some issue happens, out of memory can occur, so please act accordingly. Then they will actually analyze it, because if it reaches 80%, there is only 20% left of threshold, or 20% left of the memory only in the Bank of America servers. So they take action very quickly in emergency ways, and they will free up some memory space. So that how, this most unlikely, this kind of errors occur in real time, but we need to know what are those. Okay, that's why, we are learning here. So now try catch. So try catch, I think this we are familiar. So there's some syntax, right? Try catch, try block, how the code would be. inside the try the code, whatever the exception or any issue occurs, we'll enclose that code inside the try catch. And catch we will put like each catch block will put exception class name, and then the corresponding the variable reference variable. And then finally also like after catch block we'll put finally. So finally, as we saw yesterday, like finally get executed always for closing any resource, like if you open any input stream resource, then finally black will be used. I'll run some more program with the final block. But this flowchart we'll see now. So flowchart, what it happens like the catch block. So catch block. So the flowchart shows like if there is a, let's say there is a code get exported where data equal 10 by 0. So here when this executed, right, this exception object exception get created. So the exception object is thrown actually. The exception object nothing but here what happens is arithmetic exception occur, right? 10 by 0 arithmetic exception occur. So here it will throw the exception, and then whether if it is handle the exception or not. So if handled the exception with try catch, then what happens? Rest of the code is executed. If it is not handled, then program will terminate. So that is about catch block flow, data flow. And there is a final block data flow also. So just now we saw catch block. Final block, what it says, Java finally block is executed always, like at any point of time, like whether program is terminated or like your code is not handled. I mean your code, if exception is not handled, exception handled or not. So and if exceptions occurred or not, at any situation, finally block code executed. Final block code when we are basically what purpose we use a finite block for closing any important open resource. Yesterday I showed with one example, right? Like let's say here today's example also. So when we saw like checked exception example, this one we have to close the open resource properly. Otherwise, this code yesterday I told you, like if it is executed this code by millions of users multiple times, then there's a possibility that the stream is opened and it's not closed, and there's a possibility that heap memory is get full or your computer memory get full. So for that, how to handle this properly? So we have to put one final block here, final block after catch. Okay, after catch. So now final block what we have to put the open resource here. What is the open resource here? The file in output input stream. So this we have to close. So now what happens, right? So now when we try to execute this code, if the file is found, if file is found, let's say I put actual code here. So the file is found. So if the file is found, catch will not be executed because there is no issue happens. But in that case also, this final block executed. So that means if exception is not occurred also, final block get executed. If exception occurred, when it will occur exception B, when there is a like file which is not available and try to read it, exception will occur. When exception will occur also, final block get executed. And when when it is actually occurred or not, or if it's not handled also, that means, so if you don't even put catch block, okay, if you don't put even catch block, that time also it will be executed always, this final block executed. The advantage of final block execution is any open resource we can close it properly with the final block, so that heap memory or like the current computer memory will be free. So for next operations, that's about final block. So that's why like it says the flow diagram. Final block, like when you run to try to run program code, exception is occurred, yes, okay. If exception is occurred, no, then it will come. If exception is occurred, if exception is happened, then if it is handled or not handled, also final block executed. At any circumstances, final block code, final block code can execute it. That's about this final block. So some samples again you can practice this. So case 1, case 2, 3. So now I'll move on to exception propagation. Any questions so far? Whatever I've gone through before I move to this topic. Checked, unchecked, hierarchy, exception hierarchy. Basic concept you understand, right? Why we are doing all these exceptions. So this kind of like for handling custom exceptions or on time even like system exceptions also to handle all this.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions so far? Yo, do you understand the concept?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I just one question. It's like this the same concept. It's like only like I'm gonna take 2 seconds. So
Okay.
when you putting try to catch, so do I have to put a specific? I can put just exception, as that would be fine. I'm still like not
You cannot
set with that.
put any irrelevant exception. Let's try to like put something arithmetic exception here. So it will not accept because so when arithmetic exception it will occur, right? So let me check like arithmetic exception will occur when it occur, right? So if there is a possibility of divided by zero or any arithmetic arithmetic irrelevant operation happens, then that time arithmetic exception occur. So this it will still accept because it is a runtime exception, but it is not handled properly when you run this code, right? So there is no way of like handling this null. See this actually
That's okay.
null pointer exception.
So you okay, perfect. That's what I'm. Yeah.
So it is not continued the program. It terminated actually. There is no like after suppose if I put file not found exception, right? So it will continue the program. Like my program is not terminated. It will continue. Let's look at the difference. Earlier it did not continue. Like so I'm in null pointer exception where it is 1 second. So finally this one I think it shows.
Just because we want it to be catch any kind of exception, we don't need like specific, right? To specify
Yes, that's correct.
any mistake occur or anything coming out, we want it to be catch on
Yeah.
that.
Now if you observe this one, right? This if you observe this one, like it continued after catch, the program is continued. Suppose if you put arithmetic exception, it will not continue. It because there is no way of like
We'll only check that part, only automatic.
yes,
right?
yes, that's correct.
It doesn't check another one, no, any other stuff.
Other stuff it will not check
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it is not related to the exception. So now if you
The
look at it,
exception.
it is terminated. It is terminated. The
Yeah.
program terminated. It's not continued the flow. Okay, so there's no there's no way of handling the so there's no way of handling this arithmetic exception.
I see.
Yeah. This,
So, Chandra, I have a question.
yeah.
Say if you don't put catch block, just put finally and inside the finally, can you handle inside the finally also exception?
No, we cannot, right? It will not accept. So let's say finally block. I'll remove that here. Okay, let's run the same thing. Okay, so put some SOP or something.
No, I mean, can you put catch block inside the finally?
No, we cannot actually. This will not allow. The way you want to see inside the finally, you cannot. Okay, so now let's see. If you run this, this code will not continue because we didn't handle the file not found exception, right? Finally get executed always, but it's not handled that properly. So this is not handled. So and it did not continue my program, other lines, whatever.
Yeah.
It's terminated.
So
basically.
So we cannot put catch block in the finally block. Okay.
No, we cannot put. So okay, now I'll move on next topic, which is exception propagation. So that means So forwarding exception propagation is forwarding the exception object to invoking object. Okay, so that means invoking method is called propagation. So this simple example I put here. So in the main propagation, right? There is one method one I have created which throws file not found exception, and this basically like it is reading one of the like unavailable text file, and then there is one method two and method three, method two calling method one, and there's one more method three is calling method two. Okay, this one, and the main method is calling like initially we are creating the object of this class. Okay, I'll run this code and show you. So this object, from this object we are calling method 3. So when we are running any standalone code, it is first, what is the starting point of execution? It's a main method, right? So main method, we are creating an object of this class, and then from the object I am making it method 3 call. So method 3 call, when it come here, method 3 will call to method 2, and method 2 will call to method 1, and method 1 there is exception. So now if you observe this one, there is a exception occurred here, method 1, but I did not handle with the try catch block here. But all the way, like where it is handled, only outer block only. So what happens in this case, right? The exception which occurred here, it will propagate, like that means it will move on to calling method. So that means it will move on here method 2. So where it is calling from method 1, where it is calling method 2, right? It will move on here. And the same way, method 2 is called inside the method 1. It will move on here. And method 3, where it is called inside the main, here it's handled like catch with try catch. This message what we put here, this will print and it will continue other code. Other code it will continue after try catch. So what this program says, whatever the exception it occurred from the low level method, it will propagate, or it will basically pass to the calling method the message, the exception whatever what is occurred. That is called exception propagation. Let's see the definition. Forwarding the exception object into invoking method. So forwarding this exception object into invoking method is called exception propagation. How it does? Okay, using throws. If you observe this new thing we are actually learning, there is a throws keyword, throws. The throws keyword. So what we are telling like compiler, okay, if there is any exception occurred, file not found exception occurred in my method one, just throw that to the calling method. Okay, so which is the calling method is method 2 here. It will throw here. So here also if there is an exception occurred, I'm saying like throws to calling method, which is method 3. Here also when there is exception happened, just we are saying throw to calling method, which is main method. Here we are handling this. So exception propagation is the object forwarding the exception forwarding the exception object to invoke a method is known as exception propagation. So an exception is first thrown from the top of the stack. This is all like stack example they are talking. So if it is occurred in the top of the stack, and if it's not catch, it drops down to the call stack to the previous method. Same like previous method like that all the way. The main method from where it is called, it is actually handled there. Let me run this program so then you can understand how this um, exception propagation works. You understand it, what is exception propagation, the definition? Any questions in understanding of this definition?
What's the objective of propagation?
Objective of propagation real time, you don't need to handle everywhere, like the objective is, so basically like in real time you have multiple layers, controller, service and repository. So multiple layers would be there. You don't need to handle very low level like where the database access layer and all. So you can handle it very top layer with corresponding message. So that means when you handle the top layer advantage, there would be a possibility of other errors also, like you can handle them all in one place. That's the advantage in real time. So you don't need to handle it low level. So you can handle, there are some situations where you need to handle it higher like layer. So that time we can use this exception population technique.
Thanks.
So running this code.
So propagation is like propagation, right? It's like coming from the word distribution or spread.
Just forwarding to calling method, the exception, if it is not handled. Okay, so I'll show you the example. We push to like the calling method basically. Like let's see here, importing this. So now in this case, right, and if you observe, my main method has method 3 calling. Okay, method 3 will call to method 2. Method 2 call to method 1. Method 1 is basically throwing exception. Now if you run right here, this place, this particular place, exception happen. Do you understand? This clear, right? Here only is exception happen. So
Okay.
now when this exception happen, it throws right where it will pass, like method 2. You see method 2 is calling method 1, right? It will come and okay, it will pass here. I'll do one thing when I run this code, right? Okay. Let me run this. Okay, now if you see right, so first one it's called method main method. This is get executed, and this one is called, okay. So if you see right, so first I am in main method. This get executed. Okay, I'm in main method first one. So I'm in main method, and then after this is called, okay. Method 3 is called. Method 3, so we are calling method 2. Method 2 is calling method 1. So after this, right? So then what happens? Then immediately, like which one method is called? Method 3 is called. Like let me do one thing. Let me put okay one more message. Remove this after we can say. So I'm in main method. So if you see right, like so only this get displayed, and other two not get displayed because it is basically propagating the exception all the way. So now if you see where it is printed at which line? This is the 21st line it printed this message, okay. 21st line means it is actually 1 second. So let's put this some meaningful message.
Also, please comment this e dot print stack.
Yeah. So now this will print system.out.println. They actually, so if you observe this, only main method this SOP is printed. From there, like it call. Okay, so okay, now if you see from the main method it get executed. From there it's like main 3, and main 3 is called the main 2. Main 2 called main 1. Main 1 this exception happened. This exception all the way traveled back to our main method, and this cache, like file not found exception is caught, and then here it displays the message. So it all the way it traveled. Suppose if you put some other message, like if handle here itself, like I handle inside my method one only. So I handled here itself method one. So this will like this will not propagate here because I handled inside my method one only. This will display now. Method one message will display. It doesn't display like main method message because I handled inside this. I am in main method. Come here, and then so it actually called to method two, and method two called to method one. Method one actually handled here. This exception occurred, and then all the way back, like it come here. So this is about like handling the. You can practice and understand. You can understand the concepts and then come up with questions.
It's
Next
like
class.
making circulation, right?
Yes, making not circulation, like it's there's no circle here. Circle means like I'll tell you what is circle. So circle means if you method one, right, method three is called method two called method one again, suppose if called method two, here it's called circulation.
Hmm.
What happens, right? Here method
Yeah.
two called method one called method, it will keep circle here. It will not come out even, like then there's some extra
This one's like, yeah, going, okay.
going. So here what happens, right? So my method two called method three called method two here. Okay, method two called method one. Again, method one called to method two. Okay, here it comes here. Method again, it will go to method one. Method two, method one, like that. It will circulate, keep circulating. This called
Yeah.
circulation. Okay, so it is not exact circulation. It is kind of like calling one method inside another method, and we are seeing the example of propagation. Okay,
Okay.
practice the program and come with questions.
Propagation, it's called
Yes,
propagation.
propagation. Yes.
Propagation.
Yeah. So now throws, like already we saw throws, like Java throw keyword is basically like handling custom exceptions, that I am going to cover this one, like custom exceptions next topic, this one. So throws difference. Throw is like for throwing any custom exception, and throws already we saw, like Java throws is for Java throws just now, like to declare any exception which is happened, like here. So just now we saw, like here we declared file not found exception. Here we're declaring like it. So exceptions we can handle in two ways: either declare or handle them. Inside we can handle them with the try catch, or just declare them with the throws. If you declare, it will propagate to the invoking method. That's about throws only. So now I'll move on to very important topic, which is there's difference between throw and throws. Like throw is basically is used to throw any custom exception or explicit exception. Some throws is used to declare, and checked exceptions cannot be propagated. These differences you will see. I mean, I can say first understand the concept, then you can look at this throws example. And custom exceptions, which is very important topic and last topic also in exception handling. If you are create custom exceptions, like the example which I showed in class beginning, right, it is basically like this is kind of custom exception. So please enter a valid account number. So these exceptions, how can we create custom exceptions? I think 10 minutes is sufficient for me to finish this. So custom exception, if you are creating your own exception, that is known as custom exception. So how can we create our own exception? There is only one way we can create our own exception, which is like this is the simple example, like let's say there is a product name not found exception. If you want to create, same as custom exception, difference between custom and system exception. System, we have null pointer exception, file not found exception, many exceptions we saw. Custom exceptions, we can put your own name. That means this, so if you want to create one error for product name not found in my application, if there is no product name found, I want to create one exception. So that is called like, this custom exception. We can create a custom exception by extending exception class, this exception class, and put your like, your message if you want to display when there is this exception occurred, a throw. So then we can, whatever the message we put inside, this will actually pass it to the all the way like, the exception class. The simple way to create custom exception. I'll run this program and first show you, then I will talk about the how to create and all. So first product class, let's create product class. So this is the example, like what happens here, example class. There is one product class object we are creating, and we are making a build products method. So this what happens, class, right? When you are creating the object right now, so then it will create an object. And build products, what happens, there is one hash map. This kind of collection, I didn't cover this topic, like collections text topic is going to be collections from next week. So the here what happens, it is just building, this method is building some products with some key value pairs. The key as the 1 2 3, and value as some product information. We assume that this is some collection. And then so then so there is one method, get product by main name method is there. So I have put one validation, like if any product name is not equal to null, basically the product name which you're trying to get, if it is not found, then we throw this custom exception, okay, which I created, okay, custom exception. So I created custom exception class with extending exception. And then we basically, what we are doing inside the constructor, that I think you know already constructor, right, by this time. So constructor, we are passing this message whatever, like to superclass exception. This is pretty much standard syntax we are following for creating any custom exceptions. And then now here what we are doing, when there is a validation message failed, we are throwing some this exception, custom exception with message, meaningful message, like product name not found for the ID, so which you are entering, same as like this example, like account number is basically please enter the valid. So same way we are giving some meaningful message to the user with this. Let me run this program. So this program, what it does, right, like it actually build the products. It try to fetch all the products, like with the corresponding IDs. So this first method, it will fetch the product name by one, ID 1, ID 2, so ID 3, ID 4, ID 10. So in product class, right, we have built only three IDs, 1 2 3. There is no apart from three, there is no IDs, okay. It will throw the exception here. Here also it will throw the exception, the custom exception. Let me run this program. Now if you see first three, 1, 2, 3, it found actually. It found first 1, 2, 3, it found 50 year, 13 year. And then fourth onwards, so they throw the product. If you look at the examples what we ran so far, we saw all like system exception rule. This is kind of like custom exceptions. We are telling the user that so there is no product name found for the ID4. So this way we can convey the user with the proper valid message with the example with help of like custom exceptions. So that is about custom exceptions. Let me read the definition. So custom exception. If you are creating your own exception, that is known as custom exception or user-defined exception. So it is other way is called as user-defined exception. And Java custom exceptions are used to customize the exception according to user need. Based on the user requirement, we will customize the exception. So by the help of custom exception, you can have your own exception and message. Let's see this example I just now ran, right? So the same way. So that's about pretty much exception handling the class. You can go through this video as well as some sample exercises and then come up with questions whatever you have in next class. This is very important topic to learn in Java, in core Java. So if you understand these, then you are good with the exception handling. There's some common interview questions. How many types of exceptions in Java? There are two types of exceptions: checked and unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions are compile time exceptions. Example of checked exceptions are IO exception, SQL, and then file not found. And then example of unchecked are arithmetic. And then we have array index of born null point, all this. Yeah, someone saying. Salem, you have any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you.
The propagation.
Yeah.
I think I didn't get that one. This one is already it's clear.
Okay. This is okay.
Yeah, from propagation.
Yeah.
You say like circulation, right? Can you run the example? Can you run once?
Yeah, the circulation, right? I think you are interested in circulation when you see. So let me, okay. So this will never end actually, the circulation. If you put right, it will throw for me like a kind of stack overflow exception. So main to. This is main one calling to main to calling main. Sorry, method one calling to method two calling method one. It will never end. It will be infinite loop. One second. So method one calling to method. So let me put. It is something like it is ended. It is keep callings, right? Method one, method two, method one, method two.
Yeah,
It is infinite. Repeatedly, it's calling.
Just only one into, right?
Yeah, it throws the stack overflow. Memory get full actually. This kind of error, right? It is not recovered. In the example, right? I think less than 1 minute is ending. Okay, so if it end, I'll continue next. Okay, I'll send the videos. So if you look at errors, right? Error chat. There's one error like.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I will
see
review
this
the video. Yeah.
stack overflow error. This error type. We got this now because it is not recovered. We cannot recover it. So method one, method two, method one, method two, like that is keep on continuously. How many times?
So how are you gonna stop it?
It is automatically stopped because of this error. Infinite times it can actually get executed, and it automatically stops.
This kind of error is stack overflow.
Yes, it is basically related to memory.